As a parent, you know it's important to have clear boundaries, but you also want to be caring and compassionate, right? Well, I'm Camilla McGill, and as a seasoned parenting coach and mum of 4, I'm excited to give you the principles, tools, and inspiration you need to raise amazing kids. Welcome to Raising Kids with Love and Boundaries. Today, I'm really excited to be bringing you a different format. I'm joined by my guest, Hannah. Look, like most parents, Hannah faces some challenges, and I can't wait to explore how we can make her days feel calmer, easier, and also more connected with her girls. If your situation is slightly different, what you'll hear is some common issues, and also, I hope, go away with some great solutions. We all have blind spots when it comes to parenting, and sometimes the solutions are actually more simple than we realize. So we're going to dive into what's going on and share strategies not only to help Hannah's family thrive, but also hopefully you too. So Hannah, tell us about you and the things that you find the hardest.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a doctor. Me and my husband are both doctors, and I work almost full time. I've got two little girls. One is 10 months old, and one is 4 years old. And like most people, I have lots of things which I think I could do a little bit better.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So tell me, I know we've chatted a little bit beforehand, but maybe just bring up first off one of the things that you find the hardest. And I'm going to just kind of eke some things out, like ask you a few questions and then give you some pointers. This is kind of like a coaching session with me that my clients would normally do.
Okay, so in the mornings, my husband leaves really, really early, and then
Okay.
I have to get the girls ready by myself.
Yeah.
And the 4 year old goes to a preschool, and the 10-month-old goes to a nursery. So
Okay.
it's in two different locations. My 4 year old can get dressed by herself,
Yeah.
but since the little one's been born,
Yeah.
she doesn't want to anymore.
Yeah.
So I have to get them both ready,
Yeah.
both in so that I can start
Okay.
my working day.
Okay. Wow. And how are you feeling at this point? Like, what's normally what happens is there's a kind of a start off calm and then a time pressure build up. Is that what happens?
I find it kind of depends. So if we've had a really bad night's sleep,
Yeah.
sometimes I start off in kind of in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And those are always the days that go worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I try and not do that, but it's really hard. Or when I know that there's a difficult patient that I've got to see, or I've got some other meetings or things that are going to happen in the day, it's just, or there's a time pressure, I've got an earlier starting
Yeah.
clinic, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So a couple of things. One I want to ask you and one I want to just point out is that what happens is, as adults, our minds go to the things that we're concerned about and we're stressed about. So your mind will go on the days when you know you've got a difficult patient that you've got to see. Your mind is going to that. And our child's mind is very much, they're in the moment. Okay. So what we don't realize is that the external stresses have such an influence on how we approach our children, and they pick straight up on that. Like there's no blame here, but it is sometimes helpful to think, oh, I see that I'm getting irritated with Naomi, your daughter, because actually this isn't about her. This is about the fact that today I've got an earlier patient, or today I've got a difficult patient to deal with, and so that when we can think, okay, this isn't actually about her, it can help us to press a little bit of a pause button, which will really help to evaluate that we can't put the blame on our children when we've got external stresses. So that's one thing that you might find useful. The other thing I wanted to ask you, and I know this is painful, and believe me, I was so guilty of not doing this. Are you dressed when you're trying to get her dressed? Are you?
So yeah, I normally get completely dressed and
Okay.
ready upstairs
Yeah.
and go downstairs and get the girls ready
Okay.
because I can't be doing everything at the same time.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's great actually, because that would definitely be something that I would recommend, because they sense, if we're there in our dressing gown or our pajamas and we're trying to get them dressed, there's a bit of a sense that there's something not quite right here. Next question. So let's just say it's a day where you've had a kind of an okay night's sleep, because we've all got to be aware that, young baby, broken sleep is definitely going to affect how positive
Yeah.
be. The night before, has Naomi been involved in any sort of laying out of clothes or any kind of preparation for the day?
No, I normally do that once she's in bed.
Okay. So I would actually recommend that if it's at all possible, you get her to pick out. Is there a bit of a fight over what she's going to wear in the morning
She
sometimes?
has a uniform, so no,
Oh,
that's
okay. So that's quite nice and easy. Great. But I would definitely get her to put it out in some way if you
fine.
can. You get dressed downstairs with Naomi, is that right? Or upstairs?
Their stuff is all downstairs.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And when you go downstairs, does she get distracted? Does she like suddenly spot
Yeah.
something that she wants to play with? Yeah. So I'm just wondering if you could actually get her dressed upstairs before anything else happens.
Yeah, I could do. I could do. I kind of sometimes need her to be a bit distracted so that I can get Essie ready though. So that, if I sit her down, if she gets
Right.
dressed
Okay.
and then I get Essie ready, um,
Yeah.
that's what I normally do.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, when I'm working with parents, it's always about a bit of sort of testing. But when I suggest testing, I don't think just do it for one day.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you enough of a sample, if you like. But I would actually recommend that the first thing, if you know that the hardest one to do is Naomi, I would actually recommend that your first focus is on her. I mean, if you're time pressured, which we of course are, then I would say perhaps bring Essie and have her there getting her dressed whilst you're with Naomi. But I
Mm.
think if getting dressed is the first thing that they have to do, and you've prepared the night before, the bathroom is actually have you got a big enough bathroom where you could get her
Yeah.
dressed in there?
Yeah. Could do that.
Okay, I get that the distraction thing is useful, but it's also it doesn't really help you progress, because if she's not doing it herself,
Yeah.
then and she's sort of used to you distracting her, it's not really helping her be more independent. So you
Mm.
could either just getting dressed in her bedroom, or you could do it in a kind
Mm.
of very boring place, which is the bathroom. Um,
Mm.
Whichever way you choose, I would just definitely get her to be involved in laying the clothes out. You then got to bring in the positivity and the step by step. So tell me what happens. Do you start off by saying, can you get yourself dressed, Naomi? Is that what you start with, or do you just automatically go to doing it for her?
Just do it because yeah, I put Essie in the high chair with breakfast, and then I
Okay.
start just getting her dressed because it's easier just to do that.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, don't, like I see on your faces, with me, there's never an apology, there's never any judgment. But what I would like to think as you progress, and she's going to big school in September,
Yeah.
where she will need to take off her clothes, and maybe she does it already, but when they get changed for PE, they do need to get themselves undressed and
She's
dressed.
perfectly capable
She's
of
perfectly
thing,
okay.
yeah, and
Okay.
undressing herself. She just
Okay.
and actually she was until Essie was born, she
Yeah.
was doing it
Yeah.
herself. It's
Okay.
just since then.
Yeah.
And what I say to my husband is sometimes she just chooses the path of violence. She just some days she'll
Yes.
just do it by herself, and other days everything is a struggle.
Yes. Okay. Well, toddlers are unpredictable, and they have very changeable moods. It is a big shock for them having a baby sister, and they will
Yeah.
very often regress. So what we want is for her to feel that sense of connection with you, that sense of nurturing, that kind of encouragement, um, as well as perhaps some acknowledgement that it's hard having a sister.
Mm.
Which I'm sure you do, but we sometimes can forget to do that.
Yeah.
So I would just try having her do the getting dressed herself
Mm,
again, because you know she can. Um,
mm.
and do you ever like put some music on your phone or
Yeah, I have sometimes, and my husband does that on the weekends, and she really
yeah,
likes that. But I
yeah.
don't really think about it in
Okay.
the week.
Yeah, yeah, because we're just wanting to get the job done. But so
Yeah.
I would say, let her pick out, a piece of music that's her getting dressed music. And it might
Mm,
be another day she decides on a different piece of music. What it wouldn't do is if she's then like, I want another one, I want another, maybe that
mm,
she has one or two to choose from. I think if we can limit choice with children, give them the sense that they're choosing, but within some
mm,
boundaries. So
mm.
I would just have these clothes laid out. And then what you want to do is literally piece by piece, praise and encourage. So
Mm,
that and we can do things like children love opposites. So if we can say, well, you definitely won't be able to take your pajama bottoms off.
mm,
She'll take her pajama bottoms off. Uh,
mm.
and then, so it's not exactly opposites, but it's sort of a challenge, Oh, now those pajama bottoms, they definitely don't go on under your pillow, or I wonder if they're going to jump by themselves. Some form of, and obviously this is hard if we're feeling stressed and we've had a bad
Yeah.
night. I get it. But what we find is if we can force ourselves to be that little bit more positive, it becomes this virtuous circle. She then
Mm,
responds, we feel better, time actually goes quicker because
mm.
um, now you probably need, if you've been doing it yourself, we could arguably say, well, it's quicker to do it myself. But in the long run, it actually will
Yeah.
be for her to do it. And
Yeah.
she's done it already. So
Yeah.
not only just quicker, it's actually that chance for connection. So
Mm,
you might have a giggle about it. You might pick up her pants and say, oh, here are my socks. And of course that's the
yeah.
sort of thing you just love. And they'll, she'll say, no, they're not they aren't they my socks? Oh, what are these for then? And then
Yeah.
she puts them on. We do have to force ourselves at times because
Yeah.
the last thing we feel like is being positive. We
Mm,
just, as you say, you've got a responsible job, you've got other things on your
yeah.
mind, but equally feeling more confident and competent as a parent is just so much better. It's just,
Yeah. That's what I say to my husband is that sometimes I feel like I've done my whole day before I've even got to
yeah,
work
I know.
because yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard work. So if it was easier, it'd be better.
Yes, yeah. Because the other thing is, and I don't know if you find this, but so many of my working parents find this, is that when we've had a bad day, it can impact the first 45 minutes of our work.
Yeah.
And that's really hard because then we're feeling kind of doubly bad. We've had a
Yeah.
run in with our child and we're not fully focused for our work,
Mm,
which really makes it hard. So I would recommend that if we just sort of work back, when children feel involved and prepared, they're just, mentally, they're more ready. So that
mm,
night before thing, even if it is just her pulling them out of the drawer, or
mm.
maybe you're recycling some of the uniform from the day before, which I'm a big advocate, but a sponge don't always wash it all. But she's seen that that's what's going to be there in the morning.
Yeah.
We then try and make the environment positive with perhaps some music or a silly song or something like
Mm,
that. We're breaking it down so that if we need to give them an instruction or often a question is quite good. So what's next?
mm.
It's piece by piece, not get yourself dressed because that's
Yeah.
overwhelming. Um, might test out doing it in the bathroom because it's less distraction, or perhaps her bedroom. But the reason why I recommend it's the first thing we do is that then it just becomes this part of a routine that
Mm,
they are then expecting. Um,
mm,
and then, working in perhaps getting Essie dressed at the same time if you can, or
mm.
yeah, I don't know, you've done SE before. I don't know which way round you do it, but
Yeah.
seeing this part of your routine is actually as not only is it functional, but it's also a chance to have a positive interaction with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions on that?
No, I think I could definitely give that a go and see if it works. I definitely
Yeah,
think getting her involved in picking the items she wants to wear
yeah,
so that she knows what there's going to be in the
yes,
morning. Uh,
yes,
I think that would be helpful,
yes.
um, and kind of decrease the conversation about it in the morning.
Yes, and also just adding in a little bit of the element of fun.
Yeah, I could definitely do some music. I think she'd like
Mm.
that.
Mm.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I try to do the bit by bit thing.
Do you?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think maybe having fewer distractions if we did it somewhere where, it wasn't where all her toys are and things like that. That might be
Yes.
helpful as
Yes.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. This
Yeah.
is actually covered. I have a free guide called How to Get Your Kids to Listen, which is about this. It's called the GREAT method that I teach in it, and it's covered in that. So actually, if anyone wants to grab that, it's myparentingsolutions.com/listen. Um, so tell me what your other struggle is.
So the other thing which I find difficult is with my big girl, my Naomi, is about saying sorry.
Yeah.
And sometimes she's really good and she
Mhm.
acknowledges she's done something wrong and why you say sorry and saying sorry.
Mhm.
Sometimes she says it, but she just sort of shouts it
Yeah. Sorry.
and yeah, or sorry, and then she kind of like looks away and runs away. And
Yes.
other times she just won't say it at all. And then
Okay.
sometimes I find it really frustrating and I don't know how much to push saying sorry or whether I should just let it go.
Great. Okay. Can you give me a couple of examples of situations where you want her to say sorry?
So when she does something to Essie, she's
Yeah.
actually normally quite good. And she will say sorry, but it's normally the shouted sorry.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's partly because she feels bad, but it's not very nice.
Yeah.
And for example, last week we both had a long day. I was trying to get her into her pajamas, and she just kicked my hand
Okay.
and then like trod on my hand,
Yeah.
and it was really sore. And then
Yeah.
I was really annoyed because
Yeah.
it was really sore, and she
Yeah.
just wouldn't say sorry. And I didn't know whether to just get her into pajamas, go to bed, just leave
Mhm.
it, or whether I should push it and say, no, you've hurt me and you have to say sorry.
Yeah. Okay. I just love these examples because they're just so relevant to so many parents. So I really, I thank you for raising it. And so, okay. There's a couple of things that we need to know about young children. They're very impulsive. In fact, impulsivity is it's so prevalent in our little ones that it's pretty much across the board. We find some children a little bit more impulsive than others, but generally they're all impulsive. So when she hits Essie, when she treads on your hand, when she snatches the toy out of Essie's hands, or maybe throws it, and it might, be unfair because Essie was playing with it. It's all driven by impulsivity, which is driven by a feeling. Uh,
Mm,
Now, the feeling might be frustration, it might be jealousy, it might be, at the end of a long day, she's feeling dysregulated because she was tired, she missed you. We don't know what has driven the feeling, but the impulsivity is the action.
mm.
So if we think, we have to sort of step back and think, what do I want the sorry to achieve?
Yeah, yeah. That's basically what happens is that I knew she was tired.
Yeah.
I knew that she was overwhelmed, and I knew that it wasn't really going to go anywhere. Um, but I guess I was her, and that I was really
Yes.
annoyed. And
Yeah. 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 And also there's this fear, like, oh God, if I don't kind of make a thing of this, is she going to think that that's okay?
yeah, I guess that too. And
Yeah,
if I let her, step on my hand today and kick me, what's going to happen tomorrow?
yes,
When
sure,
will you
sure.
draw the line?
Yes, yes, exactly. Now, if we think, okay, is saying sorry going to impact next time she's impulsive and has a strong feeling that she's expressing? Do you think it does or it not really?
No. And sometimes I say to her, I can see that you look like you're sorry,
Yes.
but you're not saying sorry. And
Yes.
I kind of don't know whether that's enough. Because I can
Yeah.
see that she, didn't mean to do it.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, yes, we want them to feel some kind of remorse, but really the best thing that we can help them with um, is to feel more regulated so that they don't have that knee-jerk reaction in the first place. And I wouldn't say that saying sorry helps with that aspect of it, the
Mm,
impulsivity and the feelings that they have, that they're expressing in the whatever they've done that's hurt somebody else. So I think we need to acknowledge you felt upset, which is
yeah.
why you hit Essie or whatever she's done. Would she
Yeah.
hit her, pinch her, squeeze her a bit too hard, snatch
Just
her
squeeze her too hard,
these are a
definitely.
bit too hard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I would, in that instance, now obviously not everybody has got one sibling jealous of another, but if you have a different issue situation, there's still this common threads. I would actually acknowledge the jealousy.
Mm,
I would say I think you were feeling a little bit jealous of Essie, which is why you squeezed her.
mm,
You know you love your sister and you don't
mm,
want to hurt her. Now, we can also say, if you feel jealous, could you squeeze something else?
mm.
Could you stomp your feet?
Yeah.
Could you tell mummy, I wish she'd go away, which is what she will be feeling at times. It doesn't mean to say that she knows Essie's going to go away or that you
Yeah.
don't love Essie or that even she doesn't love Essie.
Mm,
But they have these strong feelings that drive the action.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so that is going to help her feel like she's not a bad person.
Mm,
There are other options. And
yeah.
what we can do is actually, it sounds funny, but actually practice the options away from it. So,
Mm,
tell me, if you are feeling jealous of Essie and you feel like squeezing her when she's not feeling jealous of it, when it's
yeah.
not evident, what could you
Mm,
do instead? That that is going to help her to it won't immediately, she's little, it's normal, but it's certainly going to help her develop the skill that we want,
mm,
whereas saying sorry might help her release some of the shame which we don't want her to
yeah.
feel. um,
Yeah.
but it doesn't improve the action, the behavior.
Mm,
So that's what I would think about. And then if she's trodden on your hand and
mm,
hurt you, I would go, and this takes practice because obviously when we're hurt, I've had things thrown at my head, I've had bites, I've had all kinds of things happen with my children. So, and of course, we have our own protective instincts. So we
yeah.
go, what? That hurt.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we can catch ourselves, if not before, we might still have the reaction, but then
Mm,
we say, for you to stamp on my hand shows me that you've had perhaps a hard day, shows
mm,
me that you're feeling tired. I know
yeah.
you didn't mean it. Shows me
Yeah.
that you know, perhaps I hadn't given you the attention that you wanted.
Yeah.
You then may well get the story more spontaneously because
Yeah.
um, you've de-shamed it. You've
Mm,
helped make that connection between um, our feelings and our impulses uh,
mm.
and our actions. I don't know if you've had this, but is there a play situation where you might want her to say sorry and she doesn't, or she'll say sorry? Have you ever had a snap toy or? with a
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely happened as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I would, and often there's this expectation between parent and parent that,
Yeah.
they say sorry.
I think
Um,
that's basically why I want her to practice saying sorry at home, is so
yeah,
that when we are with other people, it's not a big deal. It's more
yeah,
instinctual that you'll say sorry because it is really hard.
yeah,
And
yeah,
parents looking at you.
yeah. What we find is that if our child is still full of the emotion that caused them to do whatever it was they did,
Yeah.
we are very likely to get sorry, which
Yeah.
actually makes it worse because
Yeah.
the other parent knows that's not a real sorry.
Yeah.
We're then left feeling a bit stupid.
Mm.
And, and then we think, what do we do now? Um,
Yeah.
but actually, and I really have done this in many situations, I've said, I'm going to deal with this. I know right now, if I ask him or her to say sorry, it's just, you're going to get that hollow one. Uh,
Yeah.
but we will address this.
Yeah.
And we've actually even come back home and discussed it in when everybody's calmed down a bit.
Mm.
And I said, what could you do for whatever the child was?
Yeah.
And would you like to do a drawing? Would you
Mm.
like to say give her a hug next time you see her? Whatever it is, and the drawing can be quite a nice one.
I'm not sure if you would remember it that much later, but I could try.
But it could also be, say, you're at the playground and you can sense that within about 10, 15 minutes or
Mm.
less sometimes, she's calmed down enough to realize that perhaps
Yeah.
she have shoved her off the slide or whatever it was she
Yeah.
did. Then you can say, I think now you might go and show Anna that you're sorry. And it
Mm.
just, a little bit of time has elapsed. So
Mm.
I've had it work in both situations. If it's something quite small, then it usually the fallout is quite quick. So they've become a bit more regulated quite quickly and they're able
Mm.
to show it. But it's just managing it with the other parent and saying,
Yeah.
I'm going to deal with this. It's just right now, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the other thing we've also got to think of, and this is just a very good general way of managing our own thoughts as parents, is to think, you know, all children do silly things. It doesn't mean I'm a bad mum. And really, my child is the most important here. Look, I'm a mum who wants a child that is kind and considerate and realizes that they've done wrong and knows the difference between right and wrong. Then that I believe, most parents will want.
Mm.
So if I'm just trying to force this sorry just to make the other parent sort of either feel better or make myself
Yeah.
like a better mom, the most
Yeah.
important thing is me and my child.
Yeah. Yeah. Who am I getting the sorry for, I guess? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Who am I getting the sorry for? So now I've talked to it. Give me some feedback. How could you?
Yeah, I think that would be good. I think like the idea of what am I getting the sorry for?
Yes,
And how actually to prevent the behavior and because that's what I kind of wanted is that I want the sorry so that she doesn't do it again, but that the sorry
yes,
actually doesn't mean that she's not going to do it again.
yes,
So I think that's kind of that's what I want to achieve is
yes.
not having that behavior, but actually maybe talking about it is better than trying to just get the sorry. Uh,
Yes. Yeah, yeah. And always remembering that they're driven by that. We all are driven by
yeah,
our when I know with you, if you've got a stressful or had a stressful day and you come back home and I don't know, she spills honey, smashes a pot of honey on the floor, something ghastly like that, and you lose it, and you shout, "What the hell are you doing?" Um,
yeah,
it's an emotion. It's
yeah.
we all have them. It's
And I guess that's kind of what it was, is I knew that she was so overwhelmed with the day that we'd had that
yeah,
nothing was going to be very fruitful. And I think I probably tried to push the sorry too much. in that
Yes.
situation.
Yes.
But that's also because I was feeling annoyed and upset about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you also tried to push it because you want to make sure that she's a child that knows that she shouldn't bite or hit or whatever. But I think we can do so much more with that away from these stressful, intense moments.
Calm as well. Yeah.
When we're feeling calmer, exactly. And so there's that thought that we might chat about kindness. The other thing is catching the kindness, and I'm sure you do this, but there will be moments when she's adorable with her sister.
Yeah.
And maybe her sister's crying or hurt herself, and she'll comfort her, she'll go and get a toy for her. There will be those moments. For some parents who's really struggle with sibling jealousy, they may seem very few and far between, but they
Yeah.
are there. And it's catching those and highlighting that as a value,
Yeah.
being kind to our friends, being kind to our sisters, being kind to the environment, to animals, the more books and the more we talk about that, the more they know that's a really strong value.
Yeah.
But it's also being very aware that they're impulsive and they're driven by their other feelings, and those intense feelings drive the stuff that we don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. She is also very good with Essie. But yeah, I
Sure.
do try and comment on that as well.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. It's the hardest job in the world. Forget being a doctor, a brain surgeon, a physicist, an astronaut, whatever. It's way harder than all of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
and we're not taught. And also there's just a lot more known now. It used
Yeah.
to be, ignore the tantrum, punish the bad behavior, all those kind of things, but we just know so much more. And that can be confusing because we sort of don't quite know where we stand. But so I really hope that today has been helpful.
Yeah. I think it's been really good. Hopefully you'll see Naomi and Essie flourishing from it. Well, I'll let you know.
Or I will, and you can always come back and come on the podcast another time. And if you've got any other queries, any other challenges. But I just, thank you so much for coming on. It's been lovely having you, and thank you for your openness and your willingness to listen to suggestions. So thank you.
Thank you, Camilla.
So how wonderful to have Hannah on the show. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please do send me an email, camilla@myparentingsolutions.com, and you can book a discovery call with me. Go to my website or see the show notes below, myparentingsolutions.com. And also, if you'd like my free guide to getting kids to listen and cooperate, go to myparentingsolutions.com/listen. So that's all for today's episode of Raising Kids with Love and Boundaries. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to follow or subscribe and tell your friends. Thank you.